All right, everybody, welcome back. We are very excited for our guest today. A Play About a Curse is a book that I read a few months ago and Rebecca read recently, and we just cannot stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
So we are so excited today to have Caroline Macon Fleischer on the
Yeah.
pod. Welcome.
Yeah. Hello and welcome.
Yay. Thank you so much. I'm
Yeah.
excited about this.
So we have a lot to talk about, not
Yeah.
just because of this book, which we could probably talk for a long time about that. We also want to talk about the documentaries, especially the Poop Cruise, which I
Yes.
thought you talked about. We just watched the other cruise documentary about the woman that went missing. I don't know if you've seen that one.
We've seen the poop cruise
Oh, I
and
have
that one.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, we share a similar obsession with, what did you call it? What type of documentary did you call it?
The media circus.
Media circus documentary. Yes, they are fantastic.
Mm.
Yes.
So we can
And
get
since
into
then,
that.
even I watched another one about the Project X party in the Netherlands.
Yes, the one where they, like, the person's 16th birthday party got, like, broadcasted 10,000 people or
Oh
whatever.
my God, let's do that one.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. We'll have to watch that too. But
Well, when Adam says I just read it recently, I try to read everybody before they come on, and I thought the book was really good, and then I just kept thinking about it, and I just kept thinking about it, and just kept thinking, and I'm like, oh man, I feel like that's the rating of a book. I wish they had that for a star rating. Be
like brainworm.
did
that you
this?
just can't
Yeah,
stop thinking about it.
yeah, they need that as part of the rating. And then we had to drive to New Jersey today, so we had a 2.5 hour drive, and I feel like we ended up doing a whole version of the podcast, not recording, of us just talking about your book
Yeah.
back and forth.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I hope a lot of it comes back out. But I will be straightforward with you. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I hate plays and musicals. I wish I didn't. And so I was saying, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to read this. He's like, I think you're gonna really like it. Well, then I was obsessed, and it read really well.
I think musicals were forced upon you as a child, and it was a very specific type of musical.
And second,
Right.
I didn't have a good experience with Our Town in school. And things, you know what I mean? So just for anybody else who's it was awesome. And I really loved you go back and forth between traditional writing and then it's like you're reading a play script as well. And I felt like that just sucked me in. It was so comfortable to read back and forth.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I was thinking as I was writing, obviously, what do I want people to make of this? And I wanted there to be good rabbit holes for theater people to go down if they wanted to, but I also didn't want it to feel alienating for people who, a lot of people don't like musicals. I think that's an appropriate reaction.
I used to say I'd rather get a series of shots instead of watching a musical. And
no, I was
I feel really bad about
in middle
that.
school imagining I was in Les Mis or something.
Yeah, no, my oldest daughter has performed in plays, and she's
musicals,
and I will, as a dancer and a singer, and I will go to support her, and I will do that as a parent. But on my own volition, to just be let me go and watch this, no,
not so much.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
So we kind of,
when you know the star, it's better.
Yeah. So we kind of skipped ahead because we're so excited to talk about this. But first, we kind of want to get your ground,
Oh yeah,
this is and it's interesting because this is a perfect book for our podcast, because there's so many things going on here, so many things that you could categorize this book in so many different genres. But I think maybe because it is a publisher that publishes a lot of horror, it's kind of being sold that way, which I think is appropriate. But there is also it melds so many different.
It could be lit fic too.
It could, yeah, it is literary fiction for sure. What is your history with horror as a genre? Are you a horror reader? Do you like the genre?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, so my career, as in my writing career, has been kind of funny because I did go to school to study theater. I did a really intense BFA conservatory program that had 6 playwrights in it, because I was a playwriting major. So I spent 4 years having my schedule basically written and handed to me with these 6 other playwrights, which creates this, intense environment. And I'm not terrible at acting or anything, but I was always a writer. So when I found playwriting, I was like, oh, thank God I can still be in the theater, but not have to talk on a stage. And so I was doing that and working literary management when I graduated and teaching playwriting for a few years. And then I had this epiphany that was like, rehearsal rooms are so collaborative and alive and making changes in the moment. And I was like, so why do all these authors like live such lonely, insular lives? And that's kind of what made me want to go back to school for publishing was I was like, I want to take some of these skills and bring them to, more of a community feeling for writers.
It's awesome.
And I've always loved horror. So my first endeavor was writing The Roommate, which was loosely based off of this article in New York Mag, which is now adapted into a Netflix series called Worst Roommate Ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I read
We
that
have watched
article.
several of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I was totally just shaken by this story and the fact that, all of these states, because the loose premise is it's a squatter that's in her house and she can't get it out because there are these certain states that have laws in place where if someone inhabits a space for a certain amount of time, then they're like a legal resident, even if they aren't the inheritor or the owner. Yeah, so I was riveted by that. I've always loved weird psychological shit. So I wrote that book. It was published by a publisher in the UK, but from my standpoint, it had a really unexpected reception of it. Like, so many people read it on Kindle. It was like a Kindle sensation to the point where it was like shocking. I was like thinking that I was just,
Oh, I've read
publishing
it.
this random book. Sorry, what was that?
I said I've read it.
Oh, yeah, did you?
I did.
I love it.
He's, I mean, he just really like lulls her in. I mean, she's like her grandmother is like recently deceased and like he's like, oh, I just need a room. Like he just like
Yeah.
gaslights the shit out of her, makes everything seem good. And then all of a sudden he just starts turning so awful and violent and
Yeah.
like the smells coming from the room and all
Oh,
those things. And like it was, I mean, it's a person's worst nightmare.
Totally. And yeah, it's like a Craigslist. I mean, speaking of those documentaries that are like Facebook event gone wrong, like that's like a Craigslist roommate ad gone wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, like in juxtaposition, because Adam, that's part of my neurodivergence. I don't hype, like, I don't, pay attention to the authors as
you
well.
didn't.
I did
Now you
for
do.
year.
Yeah.
Now I do. Yeah. But I didn't years ago. And you're like, she wrote this. And I was like, no, that was part of our discussion. And I'm like, wow, you have a really wide range of how you can write
That's
and depth.
funny.
Like, I was just, impressed in terms of like, you know, you could write something like that where it's more like for a thriller and just like, and then this one I felt like, and Adam and I were saying like, there's so many undercurrents and so many things happening in A Curse About a Play. It's like, you just clearly have such a breadth and depth to your writing.
Yeah, thank you. And it's funny because I think that it's gotten me thinking a lot about like what marketing does for a book in terms of horror or not. Because I've noticed, I mean, nowadays I've learned my lesson, but when my first book was coming out, I was so excited, like reading every single Goodreads review. And a lot of it was like, this would never happen. These characters aren't real. And I was like, well, like in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm a theater maker. Of course it wouldn't. Like, I love caricatures. I love unusual, heightened scenarios. But I think due to the fact that it was published as like, a psych thriller beach read, it makes the experience of what readers expect a bit different. So I am so proud of that book. Obviously, I wrote it when I was very young. I was like 25 when I started it, but I've grown a lot and I'm excited about Clash taking this one on because it does give room for the horror element, but it also gives room for just sort of my enjoyment of like magical realism.
Right. Well, it was a friend of mine that actually passed me the book and she was like, oh, you got to read this. And, she loves the psychological thrillers and everything. And so a big part of this podcast here is to really show that like horror can exist no matter what the genre is labeled as. And so I feel like that friend wouldn't have ordinarily
No, it's a play about a curse.
Horror pink. You know, it's almost like a pinkish magenta, like when
Yeah.
we judge that versus like
Oh, what?
the Rooney, like it, you can tell the marketing is very different from that. And I'm laughing because like as someone who does marketing and I've just, you know, been really fascinated where that actually was like the beginning of why I said to start a podcast. I'm like, how do these books get labeled as horror and not? Because I don't understand. Like,
Right.
and he's like, well, you know, some of these books might be, you know, the at the behest of the authors, how they want to be labeled, you know, certain genres sell better than others. Like, and I'm just at this point where I wish that we could just like almost go into a bookstore without like the certain labels for things. Cause I think there's certain people that just make a beeline to certain sections and then they miss out on it.
Yeah, and it is funny, like, if you choose a book from the library that it feels a little indistinctive and you go in reading it blind before Googling it. Like, I read a book recently called Curfew, which I really enjoyed, but I went in blind reading it. The whole time I thought it was like a detective novel, and then when I Googled it when I was done, I was like, "Oh, this was marketed as like full-on thriller."
Yeah.
And it's just yeah, it's compelling to think about that.
I thought you were going to say something like it was full on porn. And I was like, oh, geez. Like level, like, okay, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
But it is. And that's, I was basically saying, now I'm not the person to create this, but if anybody wants to create this, I was like almost feeling, and I was talking about this at Books and Brews last weekend. Like, I wish that we almost had like a color code that you could basically be like, okay, these four colors are like my favorite. But then we would have almost like on the back of the book or print or something where it's like this sphere is much larger. So it's like it, you know, of teal and it's like, okay, so it's saturated more, almost like the way that I guess it's more like, um, what is it, Fable or Storygraph, I guess, kind of does that
Yeah, yeah,
too.
yeah.
But just like, oh, okay, well, okay, this all has the elements of what I like. Like, you know, when you read on a menu at a restaurant, it's like it has scallions and it has this and this, and you're like, okay, I like all those things, right? Because you don't get to see the dish first up, and I feel like that would be so much easier because I get overwhelmed because there's so many books I want to read, and then. You know, this cover looks great, but is it really what I'm looking for? So it's just, you know,
Mhm.
almost feel like that would benefit readers and authors, but
Yeah.
I know what you mean, and with Clash, I mean, if you want a interesting digression that's related to
I
this,
sure
though,
do.
we love a digression.
We do.
You know, it coming to be with Clash was all just such this, like, kismet accident because I finished this book. The original draft was very long. It was like an 80,000 word, like, you know, epic, more based in like the French mythology and all of that. Still always the same structure. But I had this agent and it pretty much went on submission like at every prestigious publisher in New York City, it felt like. And no one just really knew what to make of it. It was the tale as old as time. Everyone was enjoying it, but it was going nowhere fast. So
Wow.
I had almost just bit the bullet on it. But I went to AWP in Seattle, and I think this was 2022, and I was kind of just shooting the shit about it with Christoph, and he's like, you know, send it to me. And so he read it on the plane and loved it. But the thing that gets funny is just as a person, I'm like a lifelong minimalist. Like I don't hold on to a lot of stuff. Like with books and things, like I'm a library person or I'm always giving books away. I just don't like having a lot of
Mhm.
belongings.
Yeah, it's the opposite
But
of us. We got a lot of shit.
yeah, there was this book that I had read many years ago called At Sea, and I had kept the cover and kept it facing out at home because that's how
Mhm.
like beautiful that I thought it was. And I thought about it and like looked at it all the time. And this was long before I knew any of the Clash people. But when Clash took it on, I learned that they had published that book. And then I also found out that he was going to be doing the cover design for mine.
Wow.
And it was so cool because I was like, "Whoa," like, I never, like, face things out like that, like, it was perfect, so they sent me, like, the mock-up, quote, unquote, "mock-up" of what it would look like, and he had done this lithograph design, like, he carved it into leather and did the print of the comedy tragedy masks, and they're like, "What feedback do you have? We'll work on it." I'm like, "What feedback? Are you kidding me? Like, just run it."
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things that came up is I feel like novellas are like having a moment right now. And you're just above a novella and you're into like a shorter novel, like what is it, like 211, 220, something like that for,
Page count.
yeah. And I just feel like you don't mess around. Like there's no meandering, there's no extra like bullshit. It's just like all really quality content. And like that's like, I mean, I play games with myself every time I read. I'm like, okay, just get to 40 pages. Okay, just, now let's do another 40 pages. But it's like at that level, it's very digestible. And I mean, I think I read your book in about 2 hours. I mean, I was just like, I need to see what's happening with this psycho deranged
Yeah,
person.
I was hoping that it would be like play length
Yeah,
almost.
well,
Yeah,
it
that's right.
feels
Yeah.
great. Like I feel like Adam and I were saying, like with attention spans right now, I don't feel like we need a lot of fluff for other books. Like it's like I don't need all these side quests and stuff. It was like the meat of what you gave me was just so good.
Thanks. Yeah, a big part of my process is like honestly voice memo. Like I always am sort of walking around and reading the things out loud and talking through them. And one of my mentors gave me a great tip with that, which is that if I'm reading something out loud and I start using a voice that's different from my normal voice, like either different pacing or a different register or something, then that means that there's something with the writing that's just not quite right.
Mm.
So with this book, especially with the characters talking back and forth and stuff, I mean, I was like meandering around the city like a crazy person just talking through all of it. Um yeah,
Okay.
and then I could listen, yeah, and I could listen back and be like, "Oh, that's interesting. Why did I say it like that?" Yeah, I'd be like, "That's interesting. Why did I say it like that? Like, is there a way that I could say it that would sound better, auditory?"
Yeah. And I think that's, when I think about, certain authors, when we talk to them, they say like for each book, they have like some kind of like problem or some kind of new thing that they're trying to tackle with each thing. And when I'm reading this book, I'm like, there had to have been times in your head when you're like, did I make the right decision to have the story from Corey's point of view? When I mean that, I mean like you're trusting the reader to understand like Corey at her heart kind of sucks.
Oh, yeah.
I know she
And
doesn't kind of suck. I can't. I tried several times to find redeeming qualities in that character personally, and I
yes,
don't think there is any.
I know. I think that the one that I like love about her is that she's very funny.
yes. She is very funny, but it's definitely that thing is like you're reading a book about someone you're not rooting for. And like
Hmm.
that dynamic is so interesting. Like, was that something you set out to do when you started, or did it kind of just like organically as you're like, this is the story I'm telling, and clearly that's how the reader's gonna feel and how I would guess you writing it feel. But like that is just such an interesting dynamic as you read this book.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I was like, she was always unlikable from the start. Like, I hated her even before I started the book. But in the earlier drafts, I hated her for a different reason, which was that before she was just sort of, I don't know, she was like a worm. Like, she was kind of spineless and passive. And like, it was very like, she was kind of receiving jealousy. Like, so and so makes me feel this way. So and so makes me feel this way. So one of the changes that I worked on with Clash was like, I mean, I personally wouldn't go so far to say this is a villain origin story because I feel like Corey is kind of corrupt from the start.
Yeah.
But what are some ways that even though she is kind of introverted and she's so verbose in the narration, but when you look at the scenes, she really doesn't talk that much when she's talking with others.
She doesn't.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, so, like, what ways is she the scary introvert is what I kept asking.
Well, okay, so the premise here, without like, keeping all spoilers and everything like that, the premise here is that Corey is, remind me, is Vera is the
Maxine?
Maxine. I don't know
Yeah.
why I said, okay, so let me re edit that. So Corey is the student, recently graduated. Maxine is her mentor, and they go out to dinner and they're trying to like basically start this friendship. And Maxine is gracious enough to say that she's, you know, accepting a position from outside of Texas into Chicago. And basically Corey loses her shit. I mean, like the whole
Yeah.
facade
Yeah.
just drops down. And I thought it was really like amazing that Maxine could like keep her boundaries and like, hold up that like, and just the way that like a big part of where this hit me is this dynamic that basically Corey gets so jealous of what Maxine has earned and in terms of years and time and age and experience, um, that she, goes to a clairvoyant and she's like, there's a whole menu of what they can pick. And she's like, yeah, curse. Like, I want the
Yeah.
worst one. And she's not remorseful about it at all. And so that's what this story takes place on is this curse that Corey willingly puts on Maxine and drives Maxine fairly insane and whatnot. But I just felt like I remember in my 20s of joining the workforce right after graduate, and whatnot, and looking at people that were 10 to 15 years ahead of me, 20 years ahead of me, and just being like, God, they're so ungrateful for what they have. And like, I worked, in like sales and marketing, and I was like, what, look at how much money you're making. Like, aren't your bonuses enough? And, look at all
Yeah.
these special, and I just, and then by the time I ended up like, in my season, I was into it for 10 years and, and now like 41, I'm like, I just really had no idea of how much things cost and what it takes to raise a family and how much experience you have and the knowledge that you're getting paid for and the mastery that these people deserved and earned. And all I could see was, I want those clients, and I want to have that account list. And, you know, it was like, you have to earn those things. And the way I was explaining it to Adam is like, at first Corey says like, she talks about like maybe she's not getting these opportunities because she's so young. And I'm like, I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with like the age of the person, right? Like she could have been 40 and starting in a new profession for this or whatever. I think it's more about the fact of like the way you would think like wine needs time to age. If you're going to pickle something, like it needs to sit in that solution. Firewood needs time to like have seasoning. And
Right.
like that's what you're getting with Maxine, and that's what she's getting paid for. And whatever. And Corey can just not stop the jealousy that she feels to the point that it makes her essentially like murderous. Like she's gleeful for the downfall of Maxine. And
Right.
it's juicy, and it's like that's why I said like I felt like it was hard to find any redeeming qualities, but it's like, her immaturity and her lack of just experience in general as a very young adult, I mean, really shines through in an incredibly like over the top sadistic way.
Well, yeah, and like I last night falling asleep, my husband and I were like laughing and talking about this very thing because I'm directing the audiobook and I get to
Oh
mentor
my God, I cannot
the s-
wait.
I know to discuss, but I get to mentor the sound designer on it and it's perfect cuz he gets an internship credit out of it and he gets like a professional credit. So, he's doing this for school and it's good for both of us because I get a sound designer to work with on my limited unpaid endeavor and he gets, the real world experience, but and he's been so amazing to work with. But the reason that I was laughing just in the lens of the book and where Corey's at, because they're a similar age, the sound designer and Corey, I got taken back in time to when I was, assisting on all of these shows and stuff, kind of just getting started with my career. And it's so easy to be working backstage as a no one on something and like critique whatever the director, the
Mm.
producer did for the actual play. Like, well, they should have done this and the play would have been way better.
Oh,
Yeah. And now I look back on that, I'm like, who was I to even think that? Like, how dare I?
I'm telling you, and that comes from wisdom and experience, and I would even say like just even in like the corporate space of going from being like a sales rep to a sales manager, and you're just not privy to all the things that your sales managers are like dealing with, right? You just see their choices and their actions, and so it's really easy to just say like, well, that's dumb, or they always forget this, or you know what I mean, like whatever. But then when you're in that role, you're just like, man, like it's very different, right? It's
Yeah,
just
it's like
so
I didn't
easy to
know or
Yeah.
judge.
whatever
Yes.
too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and you have no foresight into like how much of a slow burn everything feels like. It's like when you run into someone, they're like, "Oh my God, you're such a success. You're publishing all these books." And you're like, "Really? Like, I'm glad it looks like that on paper because I feel like a failure
Yeah, you're
every
like,
day.
"Motherfucker, you have no idea." Sorry, but,
I
um
You know
know,
how
I
tired I am
know.
right
yeah, yeah, and I
Yeah,
think that's so there's that image that they always show, like, success is like the iceberg or, like, people only see what's on top and then how deep it is and all the
Mhm.
stuff that requires, but so the
yeah,
next
because even
part.
in the book, Maxine, she's like, "What are you talking about? Like, why would I turn down this opportunity that's great for me?"
Yeah.
Right, and that's the thing is it's like, again, Corey's not experienced enough to understand that, like, she has to make choices like
Mhm.
this. Like, maybe she doesn't wanna leave her students. Maybe there is sadness for those sort of things, but
Yeah.
it's like she's gotta do because she's living as an adult.
Mhm.
Um,
I think
Yeah,
like when we're young, we don't allow our mentors or heroes to be people too,
yes.
and I think that's what,
yeah.
yeah, Corey definitely
And
has
we
that.
we hold certain people to certain expectations
Mhm.
too,
Mhm.
and that's
And the expectations that like they have no idea
that you
uh,
have.
that you have them, and then also it's like like they're living a life totally outside of any of the things that you're sort of putting on them.
Yep.
It's like you're like, oh, this person's brilliant, but you don't know if they could make their electric bill that month. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
crazy.
There's
Well,
this very fragmented sense of identity, at least for me. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but now I am in academia. I am a college professor. But on the other side, it's like I'm like this crazy multimedia artist. So sometimes you ask yourself, I like love my students so much, but is this taking away from the art? But then the art isn't sustainable. And then when I'm doing the art, it's like I should commit more to a normal job. Like it's this constant
Wow, like a
push
real
and
battle,
pull.
of finding
Yeah.
balance, right?
And motherhood, like, it's
Lord.
just so many things.
Yes, yes. All of that is so fair. I mean, obviously have never been in your shoes specifically for that, but I can only imagine, you know, trying to find that equilibrium among all the different, you know, like highways of income and roles and responsibilities
yeah,
and
not
things
just
like
that,
that.
but like the innate like artist in you that wants to create these
Right,
things,
right, right.
having to try and find a balance of like, okay, I need to live and I need a job that gives me medical insurance, but I also have this pull that I need to, like
Feet, yeah. Mhm.
write poems on a
Oh,
typewriter for
yeah.
people as they walk by.
Yeah.
It's funny too because depending on when in the school year you ask me, like, sometimes I'm like, "I belong in academia, like, nothing makes me happier than being my students," but right now, since I'm just kind of coming off of this summer to really being broke and devoting myself to all this kooky stuff that I wanna just make, then that's when I'm like, but do I actually like teaching? Like, but then when I'm teaching, I'm like, do I actually like making art and being broke?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, "Do I actually wanna eat? Do I wanna make decisions?" I feel like that resonates with a lot of people, regardless if you're a writer, an author, an actor, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like it's always that between doing what your passions and what you want to do more of and paying the bills, right?
Yeah, and being an artist, like, the ongoing question is just like, "Is this cool or is this dumb?"
I just feel like I've determined that like I like to buy things and I have like a certain level of like, you know, and plus like with the economy and like things just seem to like, have gone up. Like I just have
Mm,
to work a certain amount and,
Mhm.
understand that I'm going to have hobbies, which is again different from than what you do, but it is. It's like
yeah.
I don't like that feeling of that constriction and
Yeah.
that you can't make those certain
Mhm.
choices and whatever of like you got to pick the frying pan or the fire, but
Yeah.
you're
Or like
really it's
Yeah,
one or the other.
in the current state of
yeah.
things too, it's like, I don't know what the fuck the world's gonna be like tomorrow. So
So then
like
I have those thoughts too, and
yeah,
then I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm
Right.
gonna do what I
I'm
want.
gonna do what I want. Like tomorrow, who knows what's gonna happen these days,
Oh my god!
between, government and weather and climate change, it's like
Right?
who knows? So it's
Yep.
like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do.
Yep.
So, it's funny because you say that it's like when I met you at Stoker, you were in the middle of this sort of road tripping adventure that you kind of did like solo, which to
Yeah.
me when I'm hearing about it, I'm like, I don't know if I would be brave enough to do that. So like what was that like as a woman going from,
Right.
this huge cross country and being like, you know what? I'm gonna stop at this random place and look at this. Like, what was that like?
It was so great because I never knew that I would be a road trip person, and then a couple of years ago when I was going to a conference in Kansas City, I decided to drive there, and I took 2 different routes there, and both times I was like, whoa, like I'm a road trip person. Like being alone in the car, I just I had my best ideas. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And I just felt so like I don't know, I've never really been one of those people that was hell bent on traveling the world. I tend to one of my mantras is like bloom wherever you're planted. Like I'm really
Mhm.
community oriented and I'm a loyalist. But there's something about just being in the car and seeing these pockets of society that you could never hear about
Right.
online. You sort of just come upon them.
Yeah. I
Um,
I feel like just from recently road tripping and like we just got back, when you say touching on like the pockets of communities or the different, it is amazing. Even the feel from state to state and, from the way that the roads are treated. And, it was like, oh, look at these power lines in Indiana. They look so differently shaped than the ones in,
right.
like, you just see different things and like, well, that's crazy. These people drive this sort of way. And, it's just,
Yeah.
there's so much that, I can believe that you have your best ideas in the car. Now, don't laugh because I'm completely serious right now. But my best ideas happen when I'm on the lawnmower.
On the lawnmower, yeah.
Uh,
Which is,
Yeah, no, no,
I
no. I
swear
get
to
it.
you.
yeah, it's like a small road
Yep.
trip.
No, well,
Yep.
okay, you jerk.
Like
First of all, that's
I'm the
not what I
same,
meant.
like raking leaves, sitting in the garden, like
Yeah.
I think of all my life mistakes while I'm shoveling snow.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, I think for the lawnmower though, like I really think about this. I'm like, it is the fact that you're getting like the progress, you're getting to
Mm,
see like the satisfaction of it going. And then there's like the rumble and the hum, which I'm pretty sure like, there's a frequency coming out that
Mhm.
who knows what that is, but it's probably like a good one. And I just feel like ideas come and like I feel like I end up like making peace with a lot of things. And
yeah.
I feel that way too. Like I don't listen to a book or anything when I'm reading. I like it to just be really quiet. And I feel like I'm just so focused. And again, I have really good thinking for that. And so I can see why if you're having that happen on a road trip, just bring it out for you. But to have it solo, like, so are you just like voice memoing yourself and texting yourself the whole time or?
Right. I mean, it's really like it's a synchronicity. You're talking about the lawnmower thing because last night, we had gotten a sitter, which we never do, and we were going on a date, and I had gotten all dressed up and I just felt off, like we were about to go and it's beautiful out and I'm asking myself, like, why am I not like
Mhm.
happy right now? It was disorienting. And so I wanted to just do something that made me feel like I could accomplish something. And so in my date clothes, all dressed up, I did do that. I mowed the lawn and I watered the yard and
I love
I
that. I
I felt so much better.
I feel like sometimes I have okay, whatever you just described there, like I have this time and poor Adam has to deal with those moments when it comes on, but it's almost like I have this energy like going and I have to do something. And a lot of times it is like I need to wash some clothes. I need to go out and I need to do something. And it's like, it's almost like a built up like momentum that needs to be released. And then I feel like I can feel regulated again.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so much about life that's like intangible or like there's no like end goal that you can check off. So little things like that.
Yes, maybe it is a form of like, it's something that I can control, or it's something that I can feel like, okay, I can check that off. I really don't have a therapist, but I could probably ask about it if I had one. But I just know I feel better after doing the thing. And I love that you did that for yourself, that you were like, there's been many a times I've come home from work and I'm in a skirt and a dress and I'm like, I'm gonna pull this shit right now. And I don't care because it feels really good. And I'm gonna put my shoes on, right. So I'm glad that like you pivoted and you're like, no, this is what would actually make me feel good. That's really cool.
Yeah, and when I was driving back from, StokerCon, it was like it was storming, like, it was kind of cool driving through it because 'cause I'm, like, in the wilds, it's storming, but I was going slow, like, slow, slow, so whenever the storm cleared up, it was really late, and I had this moment where I was like, "Okay, like, do I try to pull over somewhere and sleep, or should I get further?" I'm like, "Well, I can get further if I take a shower." So I look up,
Uh-huh.
like where I could just go
The
shower,
rest stop or
and
whatever. Yeah.
I ended up finding, like, this truck stop where you could pay, like, $20 and
Uh-huh.
go you could go up to this other secret world where there was, like, a TV and a laundry room and showers, and I acted like it was a freaking spa, like, I brought I brought in all these fancy soaps that I had brought during my travels, and
Oh
I
my
was
God.
like watching MTV in the lounge. Like,
Oh my
but
goodness.
what was insane was that all of the truckers that it was for, they were all sitting out in their trucks. Like no one was in there. I was the only one in there.
Well, that's like, I mean, I remember that because we did a lot of road tripping as a kid, and it would be like shower, blah, blah, blah is now ready.
Yeah.
They have so many of these people ready to go, but like, look at you just like enjoying yourself and making the most of it. I mean, I'm guessing most of them
It
were just
was
kind of like,
so much fun.
yeah, like, let me just stay in the mindset. Let me just get this done. Like, where it's like,
I'm like,
you took the break.
I didn't even know that those places existed. And I'm a big video gamer, so I was imagining like, you know, in all those games where you need a recharge and you can like walk into a spa and it
Oh,
fills
wait a
your
minute.
energy up.
Are you
All I'm
talking
thinking
about
of is River
River
City
City
Ransom.
Ransom?
No, I'm talking about Stardew Valley, but yeah, same feeling.
Where he's like, let's go take a shower. Pay
Yeah,
5 cents. And we're like, hell yeah, we want to take a shower.
absolutely. He
Yeah.
has a little towel that he can
Yeah.
dry it
I was
off.
like, I'm gonna watch Catfish and wash my hair and drink a Red Bull, and H my like HP is going up.
I love that.
You know what? Talk about recalibrating again. That always happens to me with water. Like if I'm feeling shitty in some sort of way or whatever, like I can go and take a shower and like my whole vibes are just rechanged. So is that only for a road trip with the shower? Or is that any time for you?
No, I'm a big bath and shower girly. And I think I mean part of it is because I'm just like a lot of my hobbies are dirty. Like I have frogs, I love to paint, I like am always gardening. Like I'm just a
Me
dirty
too. Me
person.
too. Me too. And I like
So it's like the perfect reset.
Hold on a sec. You have frogs. What? Can you tell me what that means? Like you just have pet
she
frogs
has
and
frogs at them.
Frogs.
you get dirty like around them?
It's like, well, they don't really okay, what gets me dirty is that I'm into this was all an accident, by the way. Like, the frogs were supposed to be my son's hobby, but then I was, like, just enamored and they became mine.
Yes.
But I got really into learning about biosphere, so I'm always in there fucking around with the
I love
terrarium.
that. That's
That's
so cool.
awesome.
Yeah, and,
Well,
like, researching, like, moss and, like, isopods and stuff. These are, like, ancient creatures. I'm like, "This roach, its family has been alive for millions of years."
okay. Well, if you ever like podcasts, one of my absolute favorite ones is Ologies with Allie Ward. And she does a podcast on tardigrades. And there's so many tardigrades inside of moss and the amount of like microscopic world that we aren't ever going to see. Like there is the idea that there is of everything that we've like classified that we can see with like our eyes and just like a
Mm,
normal amount of microscopes and whatever, like there's like double on the microscopic
yeah.
level that it hasn't even been like found yet and whatever. And like there's so many just even varieties of tardigrades. And so I can see like where you're looking at like the cockroaches and whatever. I mean, I find all that stuff really, really fascinating.
I do too, and apparently we know more about outer space than we do about our own soil, and that just blows my mind.
So if please listen to Ologies, okay? Because they have a
I will.
soil PhD like person that's on there. But then I was just listening
And a whole
to
episode about soil. Is that what you're saying?
that's it. It's a whole
Okay.
thing about soil. What's the difference between dirt and soil?
Oh.
What makes the different
Yeah.
soils? What's in like it's really
Oh my god, I'm the target audience. I've, like, made pamphlets about this.
okay, like I love this shit. We're gonna have to talk offline. Because I have
I
like
know, and offline, I'm like, I wanna tell you a story about the magnolia tree, but I'll skip it for now.
wait, I know how ancient they are, but please tell us because they're older than dinosaurs.
So magnolia trees, they're, like, one of the few plants, that aren't pollinated by bees because 'cause they're
Beetles.
pre-bee, so they were pollinated by roaches.
Oh, I thought it was
Yes.
beetles.
Well, that could be correct, but pre-bees.
Yes, it is pre-bees. Like, okay, see, we're like twin spirits here, okay,
Yeah, I'm
Caroline,
feeling it.
because
We're mowing, we love magnolia trees.
and no, but it is, and I thought that was so fascinating. And I have a cat named Magnolia. Like that's how much I liked learning about that. So
Yeah,
no, it's and I get my nails done still, like with all the
me too.
really fun designs, but I don't like to put the gloves on because I want to get the benefits of
I
the
do
soil
too, I'm the exact same.
or the
Yeah, and my
antidepressants
yoga
that are in it.
yep. Yeah, my yoga teacher was asking me, like, "How are you always doing, like, inversions and gardening and everything, and, like, why do you still get your nails done?" I'm like, "'Cause I wanna feel pretty."
Yeah, but I also want to stick my hands in the dirt. Yeah. Now,
No, like, I like the dirt.
one other aside here while we're on this, have you ever done a sound bath?
But yeah, I love them.
I've only done one. I was supposed to do one that was like going to be on a pool raft, but like we were actually ended up being away. But that's like another level of relaxation and like doing good things for yourself. Like I love the shower in the bath. And I saw this. This is not an original idea, but since we both have husbands, we could, collaborate on telling them to do this. But this guy would do, you remember this, Adam, where this guy would run his wife a bath, like a themed bath every Sunday for her to just soak for hours. And so it would be like the foods, the water, like the music. Like I love all of that. Like there's good
Me
thinking to be
too.
done while you're just sitting in the water. I'm not suggesting that I even want to like bathe. I just want to sit and think and
Yeah.
like recharge.
So I'm a big fan of Korean spas,
I
and
haven't done that yet.
I love it. It's like,
Cause you're
you
fully
know.
nude, right? And they scrub like through your ass crack.
Yeah, they do. So I've always loved
On
that,
his
and
face
then
right now, he's like, come again, what the fuck? I think like he's like, wait, how do you know about these beetles? Wait, how do you know about the ass crack scrubbing?
I love this. I
well,
learn
I
all
was
kinds of things.
curious. I was curious then to go see what it was like at a Russian spa because I'd never been to a banya.
Oh,
So I went for the first time a few months ago to a Russian spa, and that was a whole other thing. I was like, oh, it's a totally different approach. I mean, the history of the Russian spa, it's like, I mean, they essentially torture you so you can have a rebirth. Like you go and you get whipped, you sit on hot coal, you get burned, and then you get thrown into ice
Wait a minute,
water.
I'm not even hearing you. Wait, you get tortured for having a rebirth? It's like a phoenix moment?
Yeah, like the historic Russian spa, it's like you go in to be tortured and then you come out new. Like they used to like burn them and then push them out into a pile of snow.
Okay, one other book recommendation. That's a Nordic
okay,
thing.
that is fantastic.
No, seriously,
Yeah.
that book, Wintering by Catherine May, it is like they would say women would give birth in like saunas and all that stuff. And you would, in freezing cold winter, you'd go in the sauna, sweat till you were about to pass out, and then you dive into the snow. But I did not know that
Yes.
there was Russian origins to that. But Adam, it sounds like maybe you went to a
There was
Russian
like
spa
this
and didn't
group.
realize it.
Yeah, there was like this group in there of all Russian women. They were speaking in Russian and they were like in the. So I'm like in this thing. It's my first time in there. I'm like seeing hot coal, like just burning. And it's so, so, so hot. Like you can't even comprehend how hot it is. Like I felt like I was going to be scalded. And there are these risers. So you can go up further on the wooden risers and it gets hotter, obviously, because heat rises.
Yeah.
But there's this group of women, they had brought in like drinks and they were all just laughing and talking and like having the best time ever. And I was like, my gosh, like getting a glimpse into, and this was in Chicago, like not far from my house, getting this window into a completely like different like way of life and culture, like right there. It was so insane because the Korean spa's different. You're like sitting amongst the crystals, laying in the bath.
Well, I feel like I'm gonna have to try out both these. I can't guarantee I won't pass out in the
Yeah.
Russian one because it sounds almost like a vinyasa yoga, like type of hot.
It was even hotter.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, so would you repeat your experience at both of those spas?
Oh, 100%. Like,
Okay.
I mean, I sat there in my robe and ate beef stroganoff and all was well.
I love beef stroganoff. We ask for
Yeah.
that for my birthday every year. It's so good.
That's awesome.
So
And
good.
then we make it again for Adams in another like 4 weeks. Like we
Yeah.
have my mom. We're like,
Yeah.
she's like, "What do you want for your birthday?" Me, I'm like, "Beef stroganoff." And then Adam,
Mhm.
4 weeks later, beef stroganoff. It's so good.
I just love where these conversations go.
Yeah.
This is just absolutely
Yeah.
Okay.
wonderful.
So listen, we don't have a Patreon yet, but I have been thinking about like what would we put behind the walls? Well, I can tell you that Adam has been into a Russian spa without knowing about it. The level of
I got the living shit beat out of me at this massage.
So you were familiar with this death
this was
ritual.
not a
Well, the
Russian
thing is,
spa.
it was a couples massage, and Rebecca is having the greatest, most relaxing experience of her life.
But I
Meanwhile,
think he is too.
yeah. Meanwhile, I'm fighting for my fucking life on this table, getting the shit slapped out of me. Like,
You got burnt with
my
the hot
God.
coals, with the hot
yeah,
stones.
like they have the hot stones, which is lovely for Rebecca. Like they grab the stones, they check on them, they cool them down a little bit. He picks it up and just drops it right on my back.
Oh,
Like I can feel the sizzle of the hair like burning.
you were just taken to the ruins of
No, I'm
hell.
I
so
couldn't
serious.
help. I was like looking at this guy and I'm like, did I give your kid a bad grade at some point? Like what? Like you
Wow.
know
And I'm
me.
hearing
What did
him
I
like,
do to you?
I'm hearing him like, and I'm like, damn, I'm like, that's really getting a great massage over there. And I'm kind of jealous, and you start out phase down and then eventually like I hear Adam be like, Rebecca, they're ready to turn over. And I'm like, oh my God, I think I almost fell asleep.
Mm.
Like that's never happened to me.
She was asleep. I was unconscious for different reasons.
So he's like, and I hear that he's like, just like I can hear like what the person's doing to him is just a little bit further ahead than me. And I'm
Yeah.
hearing like popping and snapping and
Mm.
whatever. And so,
Angry grunt.
Popping and snapping in all the wrong places.
yeah. So we like, it ends, they walk out, or things are done. I sit up and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And
Never more relaxed.
I go, wasn't it just like the best experience? And he goes, let's not talk about it. And I go, okay, fine. Like that was kind of rude because like we went for my birthday and I was kind of like, okay, like I'm sorry. Like I guess I just disturbed his zen,
And Adam's being like, save it for the bus.
Yeah. And I'm like,
I'm like,
oh, and at this point I
he
still
might
have,
come back in here.
yeah. And no, like I have no indication. I have no idea that anything has happened to him or whatever. And I'm like, smiling, we go out and we're all paid for. They're like, have a Ferrero Rocher, here's some water. We get out to the car and I flip down the visor and I'm like, oh my God, look at my eyes. Like, what's wrong? My pupils. I was like, I feel like I'm just like almost like
high.
high. And I was like, look, I was like, wasn't that like the best time? You're like, that guy beat the living shit out. Like, what? I start like laughing and I can't stop. I'm almost peeing myself because he like it just going and going with stuff.
I didn't know you could feel your like kidneys hurt.
No, that's what happened. So we're in Target then, and I go, but seriously, like, was there any part of this massage that like really surprised you that they worked on? You're like, yeah, I guess my kidneys.
Oh my God. That is so funny.
And then I felt like,
I had to go to work the next day, and I couldn't even sit in my chair because it like hurt so bad. Like my back, and kids are like, "What's wrong, Mister?" So I was like, "I had
you were tender for days."
Yeah,
yeah, you were wounded.
I paid a man to beat the shit out of me. I don't know.
Well, you said like he was like pounding on the bottom of your feet.
Yeah,
and just like you. He was like when the popping and snapping were like the fingers, and you just run through them.
He would snap on my fingers, and
Yeah, like what did you do to that man to deserve that?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'm telling you what. So then we went to brunch afterwards, and then like a couple of weeks later, I was like, "Are you interested in going back?" And he was like, "All right, I'll do it." So then he does have a wonderful massage that time, and this time they're under like my right like clavicle behind like that
scapula.
Yeah, they pinch something, and I am like,
no.
And that has been the beginning of my shoulder issues, which now I am now going to get physical therapy for.
So third time's the charm.
Yeah,
We'll either both have a great experience.
Yeah, we have both like and that time.
Yeah, it's called like a frozen shoulder.
Yeah.
What happened on that when they punched your butt?
Oh yeah, right in the butthole. Like
yeah.
Gave me a slap and it just like reverberated through my body.
like air, like a puff of air came out. And
it was like a wave.
They awakened your kundalini.
You were like, you felt better though. You had relief.
Yeah. I was like, what is this service?
Meanwhile, I'm like, oh my God, my shit's all messed. I was like, can you please massage my shoulder? I feel like something's pinched. Like I left the massage needing a massage. But anyway, let's digress. But the other part I wanted to talk to you about in regards to the book was after Corey has just been a complete asshole to Maxine, and Maxine this whole time's like, I know it's fucking you. Like she never drops her guard, right? But there's a actual like a part where there's a skills challenge. And Corey is like wanting to avoid it, but Maxine doesn't need to manipulate anyone. She doesn't need to like pull strings. She doesn't need to do anything. All she does is just conduct like a straight like acting experiment, essentially.
Yeah.
Corey just doesn't have the chops to be able to do it. And I thought that scene was so like exposing and validating to Maxine and then, you know what I mean? It's just like, there's a lot of other parts of the book that I could say that I felt like, damn, that was amazing. And that was amazing. And, it's not out yet. So I don't want to like,
Yeah, spoil anything.
yes, but it was so validating to see that, like, and this is why you're a little jealous, like,
Shithead, yeah.
yeah, like you are so diabolically jealous and like, I mean, I don't know her origin story, but there's like someone didn't love you enough in the right way or something. But I love that she just could prove it,
Yeah.
of like
Right.
you are so much of a brand new baby in the world of adulthood
Yeah, she
and
couldn't even
graduating.
like get through the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, and it was basic questions. Like they weren't even hard things and she just couldn't.
No. Yeah, and like one thing that I think makes Maxine unique and one of the most fun things about her is that every time I wanted her to give up this really big, strong, reaction, almost her worst weapon, or I guess her best weapon, is her non-reactions.
Yes.
Mm.
Like she
Actually,
has so much restraint, like,
yes.
and her kind of like, all right, well, I'm gonna keep
Yep.
focusing on me.
It's
Good
like she kept
luck.
modeling what an actual professional adult is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what's funny? So when we recorded the audiobook, the actor Taylor Blim, who reads Corey, she is like around my age. I've worked with her many times. And when I decided to produce my own book, I was like, it was a no brainer. I wanted her to be a part of it. She's been a huge part of my just journey because she's an actor, I'm a writer. Like, we have a good working relationship. And then the actor who I cast as Maxine, Carolyn Herdeman, she's like a theater veteran. Like she's been in the industry forever and she could just walk into the studio, sit down, do a take perfect, and then I would be like, all right, do something different. So I could have multiple takes and she would do it again totally different. Just like
Wow.
someone who is so settled into herself. And so the day that we recorded that hot seat scene that you're describing, that was the only day of the whole month that it did get kind of tense in that same way where Taylor, the one who, is my age playing Corey, was just sort of overwhelmed, I think, because, she understandably has less experience, needs more guidance, like doesn't know how she sounds on the, mic, like all of these understandable age appropriate things for a talented younger actor. Yeah, and feeling intimidated just sort of by Carolyn's,
Yeah.
longtime
Yeah.
establishment in the industry.
What
So
a
Taylor kept
fascinating like art
it was
imitating.
fascinating.
I love how you said that settled into herself. Like that,
Yeah.
that's the right like imagery
Yeah.
and the feeling for that. Now, I don't,
Yeah,
again,
so I ended up
sorry, go ahead.
for the hot seat, I ended up pulling them out of the booth and I set up two chairs just sort of in this classroom facing each other. And I had them run it through a few times just like that without the recording and everything because I wanted them to get this sense of feeling about what different places that they were really in and telling the Corey actor, like, don't apologize for being nervous to record with the Maxine actor, but like actually really lean into that because that's what the scene is about.
Yeah.
Good for you
So
to like
listening to it back
tease
is
that
cool.
out, that you like were like, stop, let me just like, let's draw this out. Let's focus upon,
Recognizing
yeah, that's
yeah.
so cool.
I'm sure it
Yeah, because it's like,
ended up
why I feel
being
like a failure. You two are in such different life places.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that makes for an even better like performance. I could just yeah, that's
Mhm.
awesome.
Well,
It does. Listening to it back, I was like, holy fuck, this is crazy. Because it's like what I wanted in their dynamic.
that's awesome. So again, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a later scene where Maxine goes through something very difficult and she just really kind of flips the script on Corey where she's like unaffected, like genuinely and almost like grateful for this horrendous thing. And I felt like that just spoke to so much wisdom again. And that just like, again, thwarted Corey through like just being this professional, like overall, you know, adult that could say, you know, like you can learn from experiences or you can like make them better or make them worse, you know, like depending on how you
Yeah.
react to it. And even just the overall like ending, I felt like Corey had jealousy to the very last second. Like, did I read that right or
Yeah.
wrong? We were talking about that today.
Mhm.
Like, did Adam was like, do you feel like she had a redemptive arc? I was like, no, I don't think so. I think she was jealous to the last second.
Yeah. I mean, I think like the problem that they end up facing is that, and like I won't give spoilers either, but this does come a bit from my life experience because I developed a psychotic disorder later in life, like in my early 30s is when it got so bad that I had to be hospitalized.
Mm-hmm.
And I yeah, there's this moment where I came out and Curse was already signed. It was actually postponed being published by like a year because I had to take like a medical leave. But yeah, there's this moment of like, wow, is this a death of who I was before and who I am after? It's a hell of a it's a life change to suddenly like, feel like your brain is betraying you and all this stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that there's one way to look at it, which is oh, people with psychosis are seeing into this other dimension. It's a spiritual awakening and all that stuff. And I think a lot of that is true. There's another way to look at it where it's like, okay, but you're a pragmatist. You have to take your medication and go to work and like, take care of your relationships and responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that a core difference between Maxine and Corey is that Corey is sort of magic believing and spiritual and pie in the sky type of life outlook. And Maxine is kind of like, no, I've got this to do list and I'm going to get it done.
Against whatever she's got to do.
Yep. And so I think at the end, when Corey's having maybe like whatever enlightenment experience is going on in her weird mind, like there is something there still that is spiteful. And I don't know what that is, but maybe you're right. Maybe it is just kind of jealousy of like you're looking at someone who's totally different from you, someone who you would never be like, and yet you're not wanting to be a better version of yourself. You're wanting to be them, which makes no sense
Yeah.
because they're just so different.
Well, and I think like Maxine makes a series of choices from like the middle of the book to the end of the book. And I think Corey is, no matter what choices Maxine makes from that, she still wants exactly what Maxine has.
Ah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like how can you look at someone who's coping like that well with everything going on and not just see?
And she does.
yep.
And it's just like, it, I know there's this whole concept around like mean girls and certain girls that just love to rip other people down. And that's like not a new thing. And there's, several times throughout history of like other girls really like demanding that certain women just stay in their lane and, they are the perpetuators of like, please be barefoot standing at the sink pregnant. Like that's where we need to be
Yes.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
But this particular level of mean girl, just I wonder that too. Like sometimes I think about like, is Corey actually just a mean girl at heart? Like, would she actually, if this took place at a different time, like, would her wisdom and maturity change, or is this who she is as like a character
Even if she
defect?
had all the success she ever
I don't think
wanted.
she'd ever be
Yeah.
satisfied. I think she's just,
Yeah.
and the way I kind of explain it is, when I've been in sales and marketing for almost 20 years, and the way I described it was always like, even when I was just like an individual contributor, I was like, I was always happy for everyone else's success. Like, make your budget, hit your sales, like, be a rock star. Like, great. I have like an expectation for myself to get an A, whether anybody else assigns it to me or not. Like, I want the best grade. I want the best, success for myself, and I'm going to hold myself to that. But I still want the best for you too. And like you getting an
Yeah.
A does not take anything away from me. And so then when I moved into like the management role, I was like, a big part was like, I want everybody to be succeeding. That came through because that was like my attitude, even when I was like an independent contributor. But I
Yeah.
know that when I ran across certain sales reps, sometimes that's not the case. Like sometimes they're like, I got to get the A. Everybody else has to get a B or a C. They have to be less than me. I
Right.
have to, and it's like, it's almost like there's not enough space for everyone else to have like
they believe there's a finite
Yes.
amount of success in the world,
Yes.
and other people having success takes away from the
Yes.
possible
Exactly.
amount that they could have.
And I feel like when we're in this horror space and community, I feel like it is so generous. Like so many people are like, no, please write. Please let me support you. Please let me blur this for
Yeah.
you. Please let me help with all this. And I just wanted to kind of do that shout out to the overall community. Sure, there's one or two people that, you know, I think
There's going to be bad actors, but overall, it's one of the most generous and great, like just a loving community that everybody.
it's like everybody wants good. Everyone's like, let's sell your books. Let's get good things
I
going and stuff.
agree.
So
Yeah, and
Sell
I've
your book,
noticed
yeah.
because, like, I don't know, myself included, but so many of my friends and collaborators and, people who I've just met in the community, it's like everyone is championing each other and supporting each other, celebrating each other so much to the point where it's even like, I mean, at least for me, I think the person that I'm hardest on is
yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, if anything, it's like I feel the opposite of entitled. I always feel like,
what
oh,
is
do
that?
I even deserve to be here?
Imposter
Yeah.
syndrome. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so it's hard to even imagine wanting to tear someone else down because usually I'm like, no, you go ahead. I'll just stay back
Yeah.
here.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to tell you that, like, and I'm not saying this from like a braggadocious standpoint. I'm just trying to give you perspective that, like, I'm almost at 150 books read for the year, and I think your book was one of the most impactful for me personally that I will just continue to think about. And we didn't even hardly touch on. And I feel like it would be worthwhile for, like as we wrap up here, it'd be worthwhile for you to come back after like a lot of these people have read your book and we can kind of talk some of these spoilers and have some of the discussions that I'd love to have because
Yeah,
there's so many more questions, but I feel like I can't ask them to you without revealing it.
I know. I was struggling with that as well,
But
but
I really
totally.
just, I really loved it, Carolyn. It was so,
You.
I don't know. I just felt like self-aware, introspective, looking at these things and just being able to relate it to so many different parts in life. And I also learned that the mermaid on the Starbucks puck is not a mermaid.
I know, I know.
It's
Isn't that weird?
a mesula.
The
Am I
two
a
tails. Once you
mesuline?
see the two tails, you can never not see the
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
tails.
How do you pronounce it?
So the pronunciation that we went with is a little Americanized, but it's Melusine.
Melusine. Okay. All right. Great. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Perfect.
Well, October 21st, the book
Yeah.
will be out. Is the audiobook coming at the same day?
The same day.
Okay,
The
awesome.
same day, knock on wood.
Just know I'll be listening to it
Yeah.
again
No,
for the
I'm
first
so
time.
glad that y'all asked me. It
Yeah.
was fun.
This
Yeah.
is awesome.
And then, like I said, please come back and we
Absolutely.
can talk about new spa experiences and all these other things too.
I
So
would
many
love.
things.
I'll be the spa spinoff guest. Yeah, you too. Thank you. Bye.